The At Home Show.
Igor! Igor!
Yes, master.
Have you collected the necessary components?
All accounted for. And in place.
Good. Good.
Shall I flip the switch, master?
Not yet. Let us relish in the moment that sees us creating the most heavy metal home improvement show ever.
Yes, master. How wonderful, master.
Now, Igor. They're alive! They're alive and in studio! Live from the Green Room Studios, from the spacious property of Bates Nursery and Garden Center, 3810 Whites Creek Pike, it's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates.
Need Frau Bruckler.
Yeah.
Goodness, good morning. Hey, welcome in, everybody. It's the At Home Show. It's a Saturday morning tradition here from the Green Room
Welcome
Studio.
back. After a week away.
Week away?
Yeah, a week away to be with...
A week away. No, that's a weem away, right?
To be with this young lady right here.
We'll isn't she gorgeous?
She is a lovely and now graduated.
Bonafide.
Bonafide.
So,
Yep.
Congratulations once again.
Technology is a wonderful thing when it works, and I was going to call live from and FaceTime in from the graduation ceremony, but get into a metal building, and I think they were...
Yeah, they probably had countermeasures in place
absolutely
to be able to restrict the amount of...
Because they're out there selling the stream. You know, just like everything else in higher education, it's for sale, and I'm sure that it was probably sponsored by Food City or something like that.
That's the nature of the way things are anymore. It's that everything seems to have a commodity at some point in time, and
but
that's just the way it is.
Yes, young Erin Kimberly Cary did not exist on the planet when the At Home Show started.
No, she did not.
No, she did not. She was born April of the 1998, the year that we started the show. And she is now graduated from college.
That is hard to believe.
It is.
It is hard to believe, but we are due
6
send
foot
our
tall.
Congratulations. Yes.
Gorgeous.
She's
smart.
All those things.
A lot like her mama.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. A lot more like her mom and all the good ways than her dad.
She's got some daddy in her, too.
Well,
not too much.
That happens.
More than you.
That happens. 615.
She got the temper from both sides.
499-6690. Now, if you want to reach us,
yes,
and either you can leave a text message, you can leave a voice message,
such as the 2 text messages we already have.
Wow! My goodness.
Do we want to tell you what? Let's do the weather. Let's do the weather. And then we will get to those. And then, of course, we've got a typical action-packed show. Before we go further, though, I want to make sure and put a big shout-out to Brent Grunfeld, who co-hosted in Josh's place very capably last week. Thank you, Brent, for doing that so. And we had a great discussion about Monrovia products. And there's much to talk about with regards to those. But today we're going to talk about the weather at this moment. And it's going to be a gorgeous day today.
Glorious.
Unlike last Saturday, which was pretty much a rain event, this week, sunny conditions, 79 degrees, and it's really going to be gorgeous. Low of only 56 degrees overnight, so it's a very mild, seasonably mild temperatures. On Sunday, 75. It will be cloudy through the day. There'll be some showers in the evening, so tomorrow is not a lost day by any stretch. It's just going to be a rainy evening, as it will be throughout Monday and much of Tuesday. All total, we can maybe get an inch and a half of rain. Possibly.
Yeah.
So it may not need to water the lawn that week.
You may be able to take a pass on watering the lawn, at least the early part of the week. As we roll into Wednesday, 70 degrees, partly cloudy conditions, 68 Thursday. Still wonderfully seasonably mild conditions as we roll into today. And yes, today is May 1st.
It's gonna be May. You've never seen that meme? The Justin Timberlake meme?
Yeah. Oh, yes, I have.
Come
seen
on,
that.
David.
It's going to be. I'm a little slow today.
Justin Timberlake.
Josh didn't even know what we were talking about, so don't feel too bad.
No clue.
I don't feel bad. I mean, it's
Me and JT. We're tight.
We have
I can tell you that, man.
We have collectively found a way
Tennessee
to
whiskey. Wait a minute. That was somebody else, but he sang a pretty good version of that, didn't he?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
But yes, we have collectively somehow managed to survive April, and so currently it's 54 degrees here in the Music City.
54.
And you are on the At Home Show, and just like these people did, you can pick up the phone and either text us or leave a voicemail, 615-499-6690. So what you got, Michael?
All right, the first one, I don't have a name. They sent this on Thursday. Says, best, I'm just going to read it how it reads. Best low-growing shade, partial sun for in front of the porch. I love color, but I am stuck on just green bushes. But am I stuck on just green bushes or something that blooms? The azalea, I can't talk this morning. The azaleas bloom, but the leaves look horrible, and I hate chemicals. The Japonicus, that they look ragged. I want to pull them out. I don't know. Don't make fun of me, Josh.
I think it's the proximity to the porch is what I think it is. I mean, a front porch especially, David.
Well, this is where one look would be worth 1,000 words. And, of course, we're going to come up a few words shy of 1,000, even if they're pronounced correctly.
Japonicus.
Japonicus. That's the name of my new dog.
When you have heavy shade conditions, the thing that typically goes out first of all is the opportunity to have much flowers. And if you're struggling with the azaleas, likely will live there. They indicated that they flowered, so they must not be too terribly shady. I'm concerned that perhaps that there is maybe a downspout that is topping over and it's splashing the foliage too much, and that's creating the leaf fungal problems. So you might not want to bail on those azaleas just yet. However, there are other good low-growing, shade-tolerant plants, but you pretty much do sacrifice color. Of course, golden Japanese forest grass.
Most honorable Hakanakloa.
Macroareola. That's a great shade plant. It does give you color without flowers. It has a very colorful golden variegated foliage, so you might consider that. There are a lot of other things as well. So that's a couple of things to think about, but I wouldn't bail on those azaleas just yet. You might want to
Hearty ferns?
Things like Japanese painted fern or autumn fern are great choices. Very colorful, look really nice, and do great in the shade.
All right. Well, the second one is not as complicated.
Really?
Okay.
Do you have garden fountains?
Garden fountains, no.
No.
That's a very succinct answer.
Yeah.
No is a complete statement. We do have bird baths, but as far as the garden fountains go, no. And I will tell you why. The reason that they're difficult to come up with is that those things are problematic.
Boy, aren't you just a whistling there, big boy.
And there's no part of it that's not problematic. Number one, that they're frequently constructed from concrete, which makes them heavy to handle.
Yes.
Number two, when you handle something that's a painted concrete surface, if you touch it against anything else, it's going to scratch it, which automatically makes the next question be, well, how much are you going to knock off that, because it's got a scratch on it, And then you've got a pump that's within this fountain that's buried down into the concrete.
Yes.
And you're trying to get the flow right, keep trash out of it, and have the whole thing sitting on a level pedestal. There's a lot of dynamics at play there. And
you got to have a plug.
You got to have electrical power to be able to supply.
And everybody has a GFI attached to those too.
Oh, of course. Of course. So it's a difficult situation, and frankly,
they're not worth the messing with them.
It's just, unless you're better off to deal with someone who exclusively deals with those kinds of things, because it's just expensive. And if you're going to get one, you have accepted the fact that there's going to be a fair amount of expense involved. Most of the really nice ones that you see are ones that have been custom
made.
Yeah, custom
And built on site.
Yep.
I mean, if you're going to be doing something like that, you're going to be much happier.
Yeah, you're going to build in a filtration system to be able to deal with whatever might get in there. And the backyard patio types that are multi-piece things, they
freeze in the winter because you always turn it off at about September the 19th, and then I'll bring it in after I clean it up, and then along about October the 6th, you get that first freeze and crack.
Yep. So it's really difficult, and so therefore you probably should consider maybe just having a bird bath, or maybe a statuary piece, or
they actually have this little small pumps that if you insist that you want to have flowing water, and that actually I hear that the birdies like a lot too, that you can set down in the middle of the bird bath, and it'll circulate the water and shoot a little fountain up.
Yeah, a little bitty small one. But again, that still does require you to have electrical power
and a GFI.
Our birds at our home seem to like the bird bath just wonderfully without any kind of agitation. They get in there and splash. It's very nice to get to watch them, bathe, because there's nothing worse than a dirty bird. Oh, you don't want a dirty bird.
I was going to say, on a related note, let's say you want to put in a garden pond.
Yes.
Now you said GFI. I guess obviously you got to have some kind of power running to the pump to keep the water going.
And of course, GFI stands for ground fault interrupter.
Yeah.
So
which is a good idea if you've got water and electricity to anywhere near each other.
All of your outlets in your bathroom should already be that.
And the kitchen.
And anything that's
and
outdoors.
in the garage a lot of times.
Anything that's outdoors.
So how difficult is it to install a pond? I mean, it's more than just digging a hole, dropping in the liner, and filling it up, right?
Well, a little bit. It's dealing with the propensity for leaks is generally the toughest issue that comes along.
And not to mention that, let's put in a pond. Here, come on over here, boss, and let's dig a hole and put a pond in.
Before you call 411.
No, not able.
How long has it been since there's been one suggested at your house?
At my home?
Yes.
Well, actually,
I know you've got that big one that you jump into.
The aluminum pond?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I could probably grow frogs in it again this year. I mean, we're actually, I heard the tree frogs out there yesterday. But having access to a small backhoe is a really, really good thing if you want to install a pond. And then you got to have the dirt. And then David's issue where we were talking about, we want to put a waterfall on it. We have to have a waterfall. Have to have the waterfall, which means that you have to raise the level of something around it.
Why don't you just use the dirt you dug out?
Well, you want to have it stand up, don't you? Most folks, you'll take a block or.
I'm just saying, Josh, if you loved your wife, you would have made this happen.
Okay, Michael, let's hold to that mantra. If you loved your wife, we'll see how far you take that.
Actually, the only place it's been since the rural home, not the urban home that we're in, that we actually thought about it. But then our best friends actually did this, Michael. They actually put in the pond. Their biggest issue with it is that you can't keep the cranes out of it from eating the fish.
My wife
or the dogs. I mean, they had at that point in time 4 golden retrievers.
And they love water.
Oh man, it's a party time out there on Highway 96.
Well, my wife wants one at some point in the future. Her dad.
If you loved her, you'd go ahead and get it for her for Mother's Day this year.
She doesn't want it yet.
Huh?
She doesn't want it yet. It's because
what?
Well, to be honest, she just doesn't.
I want one of these someday.
She just doesn't.
David, how long have you been married?
Be 36 years.
Yeah. Okay. And when Renee says, "I want one of those someday," what do you normally consider doing?
Well, I try to say yes as quickly as possible.
Well,
because it makes life a lot easier. I had to acquiesce finally, after a few years of on a home improvement type thing, that we're going to replace 2 of our air conditioning units.
Okay.
So I finally said okay.
I tease Josh, but to be completely honest, I was sitting here trying to think of the thing that she's always been asking me to do, and I know it's something. I just don't remember what it is.
Oh,
So that's the way you've dealt with it. Is you've chosen to. Hey,
See,
one thing we know for sure, if you're going to be doing like a fountain or even a bird bath, you're probably going to want to plant flowers around.
Yeah.
And have annuals. You'll see we've got a really great selection of all things in bloom around us today. But we're going to go now to the hard-hitting segment.
Oh,
The thing that really everyone tunes in for.
You ready?
Every week, the Lowen Report.
It's time for the Lowen Report with Austin Lowen.
And good morning, Lowen. Good morning, Austin.
Hey, how are y'all? Good morning.
did you
Y'all
pick the
doing good?
band, Austin?
Huh?
Did you pick the band?
I didn't pick that.
No.
Okay.
Austin and I auditioned those guys a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, okay. All right.
We've got a feedback issue or something happening there.
That's a bird.
That's a bird.
Hey, well, we're not
there's a
talking
bird
about
right
flowers.
above me.
We're not talking about flowers at first. We're talking about vegetables, and that's a subject I know that's near and dear to your heart, Austin. Give us an idea of what people need to be thinking about. It's May. It's time to
It's
get in
May.
there and put that garden in.
That's right. It's May 1st. And usually, we talk about April 15th being the first kind of planting date, the last time we're going to get a frost. If you would have done that this year, you would have probably been bit a little bit on your tomatoes and your peppers. So usually I recommend to people, let's just wait till May. Usually the last frost is over and we're going to get this stuff out. And there is no shortage of a selection here right now. My God, we've got every single table filled up of tomatoes, every table filled up with peppers. And down below on the floor, if y'all can even see that down there, on the floor we've even got full of vegetables to start growing. So no shortage right now.
Yeah, we've got, I think I counted about 40 varieties of just heirloom tomatoes alone. Wow. Plus all the other VFN hybrids. Let's talk for just a moment, Austin, because a lot of people don't realize there's some terminology we use in the industry, and it's not confined to just being in the industry, but people need to understand a very basic difference in tomatoes between determinate and indeterminate. Why don't you talk a little bit about that for just a moment?
Sure. Let's talk first about indeterminates, which is probably most of them. And these are going to be your vining tomatoes. So the ones that generally get the biggest. They're going to keep producing for the most part throughout the whole season. Once they start flowering, they'll pretty much continue to produce flowers until the end of the season. And like I mentioned before, they are kind of your largest tomatoes. Definitely need to be staked or trellised. The other ones are the determinate tomatoes. So these are going to be a little bit smaller. They're not going to be as viney, going to be a little bit more bushy. And they are going to produce fruit more or less within the same month or two. They're going to kind of keep producing and produce more or less all at once. These are going to be kind of your Roma types, the ones that really produce a lot for the paste, and more generally the ones we use for cooking. Not always the case, but for the most part, the determinates are going to be the ones that we use for paste and such.
Yeah, and that's
So
a great.
That's good to grow.
That's a great determination and distinction between those two. And of course, the very words themselves, determinate as opposed to indeterminate. Determinate just means that literally that they fruit at a determined time. They don't continue to do it indeterminately throughout the season. So it's important to understand that. And generally, if you'll look at the backside of the tag, it'll tell you if you're unsure which one it is, so that you don't plant one and think, well, gosh, really great tomatoes early and now I don't have any. Well, it could be because you've chosen a determinate tomato as opposed to an indeterminate.
Exactly. When you're growing them, it's nice to have a good mix of both because you get a lot at one time with your determinates and then you get some more continuous fruit throughout the season with the indeterminates. So like I said, it's good to have a mix of both out there. If you have a small space and you are confined and you're using potted plants, I would recommend doing determinate type tomatoes that stay a little smaller, a little bushier, a little easier to handle in a container. In the garden, doesn't matter. Put anything you want out. Indeterminate, determinate, it's all good to put them both out there.
Now, one thing people need to be apprised of is that there are pathogens that tomatoes suffer from.
Oh, no.
So that's true.
It's true.
And they need to be careful about planting tomatoes in the same spot year after year, or in the same soil in the same container year after year, because you can have diseases that get passed on down the line that will keep you from being able to have production in any given year. So let's talk about that for a moment, Austin.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, moving around your crops every year, especially in the garden that you have, if you're growing it straight in the dirt, moving your crop rotation is something that not just home gardeners can do, but all farmers do it. They're not going to grow corn every single year in the same spot. They're going to mix it up with beans, other plants that, fixate nitrogen back into the soil. So doing that every year is really good practice to do, moving around your crops. So like David said, you're not seeing those same pathogens every year. If you're growing tomatoes every year and you're starting to see, a blight or, little fungal pathogens or spotting starting to work up through your plant and you're not getting good fruit every year, then that's a good reason for you to know that, hey, I need to move this around. I don't need to grow this again right here. Let's try a different spot. Another thing to know about tomatoes is that you can't expect perfection within your plants through the whole season. It's just not going to happen. Lower leaves are going to suffer from going to get some holes, going to get some insect activity, going to get some yellowing leaves. It's totally normal for those old leaves like that to kind of suffer from that. It's not that the whole plant's going to suffer. For the most part, tomatoes can outgrow those lower leaf pathogens. But the working in your garden and pruning out some of those lower leaves and some of that nasty stuff is going to help out through the season on spreading that pathogen throughout the plant. So if a plant's lower leaves are yellow or they're holy, they're not going to look better through the season, y'all. So let's go ahead and just prune those off of there. The rest of the plant's so vigorous. You'll see if you've never grown tomatoes, they're extremely vigorous plants. Mm-hmm. And so keeping them clean down low early in the season is going to be something that you really want to do. Having this crazy big bushy plant with all these leaves isn't necessarily necessary. So keeping them clean down below is something that we want to do. It's good horticultural practice to kind of do that, and that'll make for nicer fruit as the season goes on.
Because their whole purpose is to produce the fruit. I mean,
exactly.
Nice leaves on a tomato plant doesn't do you any good.
Yeah.
You don't eat those anyway. Now, Austin, where does a cherry tomato fall in the indeterminate, determinate kind of thing? Is it a repeat bloomer, or is it the one?
Yeah, for the most part, cherries are going to be indeterminates. I'm not sure if I even know of a determinate cherry, but yeah, they produce.
That's a good thing.
I don't think there is either. Yeah.
They tend to get a little big too, don't they?
Okay, now right behind tomatoes in popularity, I would say that peppers are number 2 in line as far as popular vegetable plants to grow. And another thing that we have a bunch of varieties on are peppers. Everything from very, very mild to excruciatingly hot and everything in between.
Yes, exactly. I think you're right, David. Number 2's got to be peppers for sure. Everyone thinks about tomatoes and peppers. Keeping them together, and like you said, from the sweetest bell you could imagine to the hottest hot that I believe only David Bates can eat himself. I steer clear of those, but I know, David, you can take it hot. So the ghost peppers, and I don't know, David, what's your hottest? What's the
the Carolina Reapers are generally considered to be the hottest, and they're like 2.2 Scoville, 2.2 million Scoville. Ghost pepper is probably like about 900,000, so it's twice as hot as a ghost pepper. They're wonderful, delightful.
It's wonderful.
Never even thought about trying one.
When it has a warning label on the plant, it could grow at your own risk.
Well, growing it's really not a threat.
No, it's
handling the fruit once it comes under. So in all seriousness,
yes.
Even someone who loves growing them, I'm going to put on gloves to handle those with, because just the touching the fruit and then doing something like this,
or going to the bathroom.
All right,
so that's really bad.
Yes.
You're telling me you like to eat this food that if you have to use gloves to handle a food you're about to eat, that's not a food worth eating.
Well, I beg to differ with you.
Well,
but that's just part of it. But peppers are
he
another.
Eats Velveeta on his on a mayonnaise sandwich. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Okay, well, Austin, let's wind up the garden segment here because we're going to move on to some flowers here in a moment. So what else you got to talk about people need to be thinking about in terms of their vegetable garden?
I think it's about time for us to start thinking about getting our some of our seeded plants that we use every year. Instead of, we have obviously plants that you can already plant already up, but there's a few certain crops that we generally grow from seed, and that's going to be your corn, it's going to be your beans. You can even do some of your cucurbits, which are going to be your squashes, and your zucchini. Those all pop up from seed very, very easily. But
watermelons, all your melons.
Watermelons, yep. Right. And like I said, we sell all that already up. You can already buy it. But if you're trying to do a lot, whenever you do corn and beans specifically, you kind of need a lot. You need 2 or 3 designated rows, to grow this stuff. So we're going to do that from seed, and we provide the seed here as well. So I think soil temperature is starting to get a little bit warmer, which means, those crops are getting ready to go. I was on my way in this morning. I was looking at my farms around where I live, and all the corn's already up about 2 to 3 inches, I noticed, in rows, looking good. So it's time to get those seeded crops out, and along with all the other ones that we plant as well. And then let's not forget about herbs. Get those herbs out there in the garden as well. Pair some of your basils with your tomatoes. Get those cilantro going. All the herbs we need to get out in the garden as well. And just makes for nice, just good foliage plants that you can use for cooking.
And herbs are the gardening item that almost anyone can grow. Even if you only have a little balcony area, you can have a few pots and have some basil or
great success, and they're easy,
really easy to grow. You can grow mints, you can grow all kinds of things. So container gardening, particularly with regard to herbs, I think are already made for each other, and they lend themselves well to nearly any application, so long as you have just a few hours of sunlight.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. They're good to pair together too. Herb containers can look really good together. So doing a nice mixed container with multiple herbs in the same, get you a big old pot and get 5 or 6 different herbs in there and let them all just kind of swell and grow together. Makes for a nice little container as well.
That looks good. And I'm also been thinking about like a salsa planter, throwback for just a moment to the,
hot
if you
peppers.
can put peppers, salsa for tomatoes, and also tomatillos. They're very limited supply this year. We don't have many tomatillos, if we have any at all right now.
What's a tip that you failed to tell someone last year about tomatillos, David?
Well, you got to have several of them.
Yep. So they can cross-pollinate.
Yeah.
You got taken to task over that last year.
Well, that's the only thing I got taken to task over. I promise you that. All right, let's shift gears now, Austin. Let's talk about things on the flowering end and see what one of the things I talked about. Boy, that was a quick transition.
That's so
well. Look at all this color. I had to show it to you. Now, like I said, we are up on color out here.
We are now. This week in my newsletter that I put out, I kind of put out a little bit of a cautionary statement to folks. If you walk into the greenhouse this morning, you will go, there is obviously no shortage of any kind of flowers. Well, it doesn't look like it right now, but we've already gotten a word from our suppliers that beyond next week, our prospects for more annuals is very much uncertain.
Wow.
So we don't say that to create hysteria or just to say, be mindful of what is available, and you might need to consider making some changes from what you've done in years past. If you see something that you like, you should consider go ahead and getting it.
Yes.
And taking it home with you and planting it, because if you wait till next week or the week after to get that, hoping that exact thing you're wanting to put in there comes in, you may be really disappointed and not have anything to plant.
Yeah, most definitely. It's time to do it. Like you said, if you want it, you better get it, because we are running. We're going to be running out here soon. Like I said, today, what you see now, by what you see by the end of the day today, is going to be wild. I think today, I'm guessing this will be our busiest day of the year, probably today. We got sunshine and 78 or whatever it is. It's going to be wild.
It's going to be wild, and we want to take a moment to thank everyone who is planning on coming out today. And I gotta give you. We'll talk about this after we get done with the ask everybody to
put out a warning to all the employees.
enjoy your visit with us today, and we appreciate your patience that you have. There's parking, shopping carts,
with it, too.
expertise,
Yes.
everything is going to be stretched to its absolute limits today, and we appreciate the opportunity. But this is that crazy time of year for us, and we just try to show up and do the very best we can. So we thank you for trusting us with the opportunity to get to help you with your gardening issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Austin, any final thoughts coming up on here as people start to think about, okay, what's my plan of attack? How am I going to get this done? And with all the things we've talked about, possible shortages, those kind of things, how would you recommend to folks out there as gardeners to proceed in order to get their very best possibility of getting the show that they're hoping to have in their landscape?
Mm-hmm. You need to get it. I think that's the first thing, is they've come out today. You need to get it all. I wanted to say something about raised beds. Raised beds have become so popular now, and most everybody's doing them. And I think I just wanted to say, let's not just do a raised bed with veggies, but let's make it pretty as well.
Absolutely.
We've got so many annuals in here too. So let's start off by getting your baseline veggies out. Get your tomatoes in to get the biggest. Get your peppers behind that. Fill it up with all your veggies that you want. And then after that, let's think about getting some of these annuals around the corners of the bed. Get some spillers falling out of the top of the container. And let's make those raised beds pretty. Not just, they can be functional and pretty. They don't have to just be function. So
now, how much,
if you just want veg, go ahead. But I think that they should be pretty as well.
Now, how much credibility do you give for years? Marigolds have been used planted around gardens as a sort of to repulse certain insects. Do you give that much credibility, or is it just really something that looks nice that really doesn't matter whether it actually keeps insects away or not?
To me, I've thought about this for years, trust me. Now, but the problem is I've seen marigolds and I've seen their potential pest issues. There's a number of bugs that like marigolds. So maybe the thought process on this long ago is that the bugs go more towards the marigolds and less towards your veggies. And I think there is a little bit of credibility behind that. To be honest with you, though, I'm not a big believer of that. I think that if pests are in Middle Tennessee, we know that, don't we?
We got them.
If you plant tomatoes, you're going to see something. You better believe it. So marigolds or not, you're going to see some issues. But they're pretty.
They look good.
Yep. They look good. Why not? Like I said, let's make these veggie gardens a little bit prettier in our backyards.
All right. Well, Austin, we want to thank you for your time this morning. The Lowen Report comes to you every week, and Austin brings it every week. You can also catch him out on the Bates Nursery Facebook page.
See,
it's worth a grow. You need to check that out. Austin does his 1-minute videos on specific products, so he'll give you a very concise, hard-hitting 1-minute segment on It's Worth a Grow. So
just the facts, man.
Check that out on the Bates Nursery Facebook page. Austin, thank you much, and come out and see Austin and all of us today here at Bates Nursery.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So there it is.
Awesome.
The gospel according to Austin Lowen.
Yes. Can we go to input 2 just quickly here?
We can do that, Josh.
Because I wanted to send out this closed circuit message to all the at-homies, and particularly the ones that work here at
Mute.
Not me.
I believe
It's a TV.
It's a TV, David. Okay. Not my bad. Anyway, closed circuit to the employees here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. It is a fact that these two lovely ladies will be here 0.9 miles north of Bradley Parkway at exit 19 sometime this morning. So if you see these two faces, you might want to separate them. It'd be one of those things. Maybe we do a divide and conquer kind of a thing.
Oh, I don't think that's necessary, Josh. They both seem perfectly reasonable and easy to deal with. So, I think that you're
now, this is my lovely bride there on the tall one, and that is my mommy Kim. She is the wife of my best friend.
Both wonderful ladies, and we're glad to have them and all of you come out.
They're
today.
just demure, very soft spoken,
until you get to know them for about 30 seconds, and then it all changes.
Oh, they've never met a stranger. So, but okay. But that having been said, just everything. See, they've been married longer than I've been married, but I've had them longer than I've had her. So
there you go.
Yep.
So,
but Poppy Joe will be here too. By the way, David, he's got plenty of money. Give her anything she wants.
Right,
okay, he'll be willing to pay for it. All right.
Well, folks. Our motto here at Bates Nursery is that we
like to get paid.
No, we allow husbands to come to Bates Nursery. We just don't encourage it.
No, 615-499-6690 if you would like to join the program.
Well, it will be an adventure today if you come out. Let me talk for just a moment
yes, please.
About one of the things that's near and dear to what we do here, and for whatever reason, I can't get my. There we go.
Mm-hmm. Good old technology.
Yeah, so we're going to talk for just a moment about one of the things that really gives you the best opportunity to grow plants and do it successfully.
Yes.
And not just have them hang on,
right,
but to have them thrive and get the most out of them with the minimum amount of work, and that's of course Earth Mix Garden products. And it doesn't matter which product you're talking about. If you're doing it in the garden itself, you may want to check out Earth Mix Garden to directly plant into it, like in a raised planter. Or you may just need to amend the soil that you already have. Using Earth Mix Supernatural is a great organic amendment to be able to reintroduce microbes and other nutritional things into your soil without using chemicals, Josh. These are all 100%
I do it, David. I
know you do. I know you do. So if you're doing landscaping and you're planting those, we recommend Earth Mix Landscape. And Earth Mix Landscape is, of course, one of those products that really helps to build the soil up, give those plants that have just been put into the ground the optimum opportunity to become rooted into the soil around them and help them to do their very best. The great thing about Earth Mix Garden products is it's available all over. You can find it all over the Middle Tennessee and in Kentucky. Go to earthmix.net and click on the Find Earth Mix tab there in the top right corner. And then once you scroll down, you'll see all the various points all over Middle Tennessee, Kentucky, even up into Indiana and Ohio. So check that out at earthmix.net. And make sure that you keep this in mind. Success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix Garden products. And we appreciate you taking a moment to let us talk about that and to help you in your garden. So,
got a quick question from an instant message on the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates Facebook page from Stephen Prosser. He's looking for Oxheart tomato plants. David, is that one of the 40 varieties that you?
I have seen some down, and I did not look this morning. And things have moved in and out, but I have seen the orange Oxheart in the last few days. That one I know I saw.
Do you have the oxtail variety?
I have not seen. I've never known of oxtail.
What about ox lungs?
Ooh, that would be good.
Yeah.
Huh?
But we do have
like tongue.
Yeah,
we do have. I had someone inquire yesterday about Cherokee Purple, which is a widely known one. One that I think that we didn't actually touch on. It's a wonderful tomato. It's not necessarily the easiest one to grow. So that's why it's good to have a number of different types of tomatoes. And in case you have troubles with one, you won't as likely have troubles with them all.
It's not a particularly prolific producer of
fruit. You're going to get a few really nice. You're going to get a few really nice fruits, and then it may tend to somewhat decline on you after that. So you want to make sure that you keep in mind the things that we talked about earlier. Don't plant your tomato plants in the same spot year after year. And if you're growing them in a container, you want to take that soil, use it somewhere else in the garden, and then redo your containers with fresh soil each year. So if you'll do that, you can have really predictable, really reliable results. And don't rotate potatoes and tomatoes. They're first cousins. So the diseases that affect one also affect the others.
Right.
So I've got some rather enormous tomato plants. I sent him the pictures, but I think you guys were telling me I need to transplant the squash plants.
Yeah, I've got a picture of David if you want to
put that back
if
up
you want to
there?
go back to 2 real quick.
Yes, we'll do that. And
Michael being a newbie, and that's okay. That's okay,
no.
buddy. I did the same.
It's called the sophomore slump. I was a newbie last year. Now it's a sophomore slump.
Well, and the plants that we're showing here, and those are obviously growing wonderfully, but you ain't seen nothing yet.
Nobody.
They will absolutely take over not just the spot they're in, the entire spot.
You got one zucchini and one squash.
The zucchini's in the back, squash is in the front.
And that's enough to feed you and about 3 other families, too.
I would put one of those each into a large, like a 15-gallon size container, something really big.
Number 2, wash tub would be good, too.
Something like that. Now, you need to have drainage, obviously. A wash tub might not have drainage in it. But
you have tools.
But they'll grow large. They're going to get very big, and you're going to get a lot of fruit. Now, here's the downside to squashes is that they can decline along the way. So it's really
you got to keep them picked.
You got to keep them picked, but you also need to. The plant may just go down. You may get a really good crop one time.
Fried squash blossoms are amazing.
And then they'll just go down on you. So don't be alarmed if that happens. It just kind of goes with it. But your garden is looking wonderful to this point, Michael.
There's his maters.
Yeah, 3 tomato plants. I had a cucumber plant there in that back corner, and the frost got it.
There we go.
Even though it was covered, it died.
Yeah, those are really looking nice.
You got any flowers yet?
In there?
Yeah.
No, I don't. That looks bigger than it actually is.
No. Now, do you have any blossoms on the?
Actually, you can't see it, but I got a tiny green tomato in that one in the corner.
Boy, your next door neighbor really needs some landscaping.
You keep bringing that up.
That chain
poor
link,
little cut down door, and then golly Moses,
that little chain link fence is not doing it for Josh.
No, it's not. Well, that's his. I've got the white picket fence around the parts of my yard.
You need to
just
stand.
Not that one.
You need to stand on the other side of the garden bed, Michael, and take your.
Take a picture back towards my house so you can see my crappy landscape.
Because I'm going to talk about your neighbor. Okay. All righty. 615-499-6690.
And that's how you get in to ask questions, leave a text message.
You can IM just like Stephen did.
I believe it's time for a plant rant.
With Cary Gant?
Yes.
Sometimes she just needs to vent. It's Plant Rants with Cary Grant.
I didn't fix it yet.
Dang it, Michael.
I know.
You got to get Austin some new walk-up music too, man.
Yeah, it actually is Cary Gant.
Cary Gant.
Correct, Cary Gant.
Not Grant, but as we understand, that's probably... You've only heard that, a million times in your life?
Well,
at least.
The thing is, when I was doing it, I think I said this last week, I always remember her last name.
Look good in a double-breasted
because
suit,
it's John Gant is a pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh, okay.
And I kept telling myself, it's Gant. And then still, I said Grant and didn't even realize it.
Ron Gant played for the Atlanta Braves, too.
No one cares.
But
There's a lot of great plants out there.
So... We've got you here in studio. You've got a load of lovely plants around you there.
I do. All these beautiful flowers, so many blooming around me. It's so exciting.
One of the things that is, I think, is always people talk about, do those look good together? Look at that variety of things that
I'd say yes.
It almost is impossible to plant things in such a way that they don't complement each other.
It can be done wrong.
Yeah, you put tall plants in front of short plants.
Right.
That's one of the ways it's most likely done. But you've done a nice job there of demonstrating the taller plants in the background and the spillovers in the front, which make a really wonderful selection as far as a presentation goes. We've got Mother's Day coming up next week.
Yes, we do. So now's the time to start buying plants for your mom.
Oh, it is. And so if you're thinking in terms of...
or you could dig her a pond.
Well, that's...
Yes, you could do.
Or you could make her join the Fertilizer of the Month Club.
Didn't make anybody.
That actually sounds exciting.
That was a birthday anyway.
Yeah. Here's dear. I bought you a bag of compost. I love it.
He really did that. He did that.
It was grass seed and fertilizer. And a full aeration from the yard boy himself. All the way from Petersburg, Tennessee, came up to
it was a combo.
It was.
That's a great gift.
I think Josh has a warped sense of what love is all about. But you know what? He's not the first, nor will he be the last. So, but
some say love, it's like a yard, not like what?
I love
Some
it.
say love, it's
love is
like a
like
yard,
there you go.
freshly sown.
So
Sing it,
you,
Tyler.
and Tyler is, of course, one of the primary talents of this fine program. And all of the things that you see that are these extraneous little bits that come in. Tyler, is the mastermind of those, so we're always glad for his input and for his occasional restraint.
I'm too much.
No, you're not.
Cary, you got some lilies in there, don't you?
I do, some calla lilies, actually. So we've got a pink one down here and a yellow one next to me.
A pink one. Wow.
Mhm. Can you see it?
I see it. Yep.
Can the camera see it? That's a bigger question.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there it is. All right. So on my left, your right, we have more full sun plants, flowers, spillers that we were talking about earlier. And then to my right are going to be more shade tolerant. So they're not going to want, yes, your left.
Stage right.
Sun. Stage, let's just do them all.
Yep.
Downstage, upstage,
Yep.
all the things. So let's start with the sun plants.
Okay.
How's it look?
Just to see if the camera guy can keep up.
Yeah, left and right, left and right. Who is Tyler, which we were
Yes, of
talking about
course.
earlier. Yay, technical scientist
He's
over
everybody.
there. So one of the things that we're selling the most when it comes to annuals and mixed containers and things that people want is going to be the sweet potato vine. We had a run on that about 2 weeks ago. We ran out. People were coming for it. They were upset. We were out of it. It happens. We do have some in stock today.
Do we have both the golden leaves and the dark leaves, the purple leaves as well?
Yes, we do. We have about, I would say, 4 trays of each, which is
So
not
that's
that
not
much.
So if
No,
you're going to
it's
get
not.
those, you need to show up early.
Now,
And
did they
it's right
produce
here.
fruit? You're calling it a sweet potato plant, or is that just
It's ornamental. It does
ornamental?
produce a tuber, but it's a non-edible.
Yeah, we don't want to eat that.
We are going to have some. There are some sweet potato vines that are actually produce the edible sweet potatoes that'll be available probably next year, but those are in the pipeline. So just be mindful of that.
Not here yet.
The bioengineers are working on it, though.
Now, speaking of edible, we do have something in this arrangement that is, and also a medicinal plant, this calendula, which is in the marigold family. And it's a great mixed container plant or in your garden bed. I think Tyler might be getting a close-up shot of that.
It's
we
going to
get
be
it?
a minute. I'm
So
zoomed
we'll
in on
just
it.
keep talking. This one has a nice light yellow color, as you can see.
You would brew it to a tea, or what?
You could brew it into a tea. I make mine into a muscle rub. You can add the flowers into a salad. It does so many great things. So not only does it look great for your garden, it's good for your health.
It takes a calming effect if it's a muscle
Yes,
muscle
it does.
rub.
It can
Okay.
calm you down, make your muscles feel good. So we just have this nice array of full sun plants. Every year for Mother's Day, I make my mom a mixed container. So like we were talking about earlier, I think like Austin touched on, today's pretty much the day to come out and get those plants.
And we also have some pre-planted mixed containers, do we not?
As I have right in
there.
front of me
Right.
here.
So, that makes life easy on you. If you don't want to bring all the different elements together, you can buy one already pre-planted for you, ready to present to mom.
Ready to go.
That looks
Bestow
like
your love.
is that a wavy petunia, or are those?
It is, and we've got some verbena in here on your right. Nice pink basket. We also have some white ones, some yellow ones, and some purple ones back in the greenhouse.
Yeah,
We
there's
do
a
have a
whole
nice
variety.
selection right now.
Very good.
Then if you don't want to go for a mixed container, you can also just get a hanging basket, which we have some that's just one single plant. But this is a great route to go if you don't have time, if you're not feeling crafty, but you want to get your mom something nice.
Now, Cary, you are the queen of crafty. You are.
I do love crafting. I don't know how you knew that.
Well, because I get to watch you work every day, and she's She deals with all of the containers and displaying those and putting those out. And so I know that you have a real eye for the varieties of texture and color that come in the containers and how you can mix various plants in with them to give you the desired effect that you're looking for in your particular spot. What are the things, I know we've just gotten more containers in the last few days. What are the things that makes you think about with regard to ideas for people on their patio or on their balcony area?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we got a ton of good containers in. We actually haven't unpacked them all right now. So you can
there's some big ones out there that are gorgeous.
Giant ones right behind us near where the mulch is. But I actually brought some containers out. I don't know if you can see, that would be great for like a small container, maybe on your back porch or something, sitting on a ledge. Mm-hmm. I'm going to lift this one up.
Can you do that?
Wish me luck.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
It's kind of big.
It looks like concrete, but it's not. It's actually like a wood composite plastic pot. So it's going to be pretty weather resistant. It's going to last a long time.
And what's great, the weight saving factor is really helps a lot on those, particularly for those folks who are like me, who are not as young as they used to be, and being able to reduce that weight just a bit helps a lot.
Is that the only size of those, or do they have them that are wider?
We have them in wider. We've got them in round. We have them in urns. We have pretty much any kind of shape you would want in these. When they came in, I bought a few because they're so cool. And back behind me, or behind that one, is a terracotta looking one. I love this one.
And again, that one appears terracotta. It is actually a composite material, correct?
Correct.
So you get the color, that natural earthy color of a terracotta, without all the weight and the
breakability.
Yes, that's a lot more durable as far as resistance to breakage.
Right. If you fall down on top of it, knock it over, it's not going to break. Your
hit it with
might
a lawnmower.
Hit it with a lawnmower.
Yeah.
Run over with your car. That might take it out, but we could test it and see on the home show next week.
You know what? Someone will test it, and they'll report into us and let us know.
And they'll let us know how it goes. So you can start small. You can also go really large. You can take a planter that's a couple feet high, up to, you can make it as wide as you want to make it. But you'll want to fill something in the bottom so it has good drainage. I suggest using our Earth Mix Pine Fines. Mm-hmm. That's what I put in the bottom of my larger mix containers. And then on top...
That's just to fill the bulk of the space
correct.
At first, and then you put your prepared mix on top of that.
Your soil on top, which I used the Earth Mix Outdoor, Proganics Outdoor. And sometimes I also use the Landscape in my mix container. Yep. It does really well. And I always have that around because I buy that in bulk and keep it out by my barn. So I always have it accessible and ready for gardening. And then once you fill it up, you'll just want to mix all your plants that you've picked out. Like we were talking about earlier, you can't really go wrong. Just choose some colors you like, maybe one tall plant, medium-sized plant, and then spillers in the front. And one nice thing about tags that we have here at Bates Nursery is it's going to have most or all of the info that you're going to need on the back. That's going to show the height, the sun requirements that it needs to get. So it can give you an idea of where you need to place it in that mixed container.
Very good. Well, that's a lot of extremely helpful information this morning. And of course, one of the great things about using Earth Mix products when you're planting is that they are all so naturally nutritional by nature. Yes. Is that you won't probably even need to fertilize for 4 to 6 weeks after you plant it. So they're going to have plenty of available nutrition right there in the soil or the amendments that you're providing for them. So that's a great combination of attractive plants and planters and the soil to put them in. That gives you the entire recipe for success when you're going to get out there, whether you're doing it for yourself or whether you're going to put something together for mom. Word to the wise.
Get it.
Yes, don't delay because
get it now.
And we'll talk for just a moment. Cary, you can stay on with us if you like.
Oh, I would love to.
I have had several questions. Why is there a shortage? Because, we tend to run out later in the season every year, but this is much earlier than normal. And Texas is, in a word, it's Texas. Texas, with all the ice storms and winter that they had, created devastation for them. Many of their landscapes suffered greatly. And as a result of that, a lot of people have gotten out and really worked hard to restore their homes to what they were previously. and Texas being ahead of us in the run of spring, it was like the giant vacuum cleaner that sucked all.
Do they have any growers down there as well?
And they got damaged severely also, and that exacerbated the problem greatly. So, and unfortunately, that problem is the annuals will be able to be recovered pretty quickly. We don't anticipate it being an issue in successive years, but for specimen type plants, larger trees and shrubs, those kind of things, it takes years to grow those. So you have to be cognizant of the fact that there are things that you may be wanting to use in your landscape that may additionally not be as readily available as they have been in the past.
My guess would be that the growers are probably in zone 9 below, or 8, 9.
They're 8 and 9 down in Texas as a general rule, but there is quite a lot of overlap with the product mix that we use and what they use. Now we won't use a lot of the more southern type things, like they would use the palms and those kinds of things. But much of the other things, all the woody ornamentals and most of the trees are
live oaks would have probably really gotten damaged this year too.
Well, it's very possible in that you just had a lot of things that were like the entire state of Texas. It was caught unprepared.
Yep.
There were things that happened that they just they did not anticipate, and
you lose a month of business. It's not exactly easy to do, and that's basically what they lost, because there's a lot of manufacturing in Texas as well.
Absolutely,
and recovery of. Trucking.
Well, the trucking is another big part of all that. And because of all of the recovery process in Texas, a lot of where there was already a shortage of trucking, that made it worse because a lot of it got shifted into the Texas market, trying to restore and replenish all the services and all the things that people are having to work on in the greater Texas area. So, in a word, that's the reason that there are shortages this year. And with regard to annuals, it'll likely only be a 1-year thing. There are other things in the landscape that we will see there'll be a number of years
before they recover.
Before they really fully recover. Now, you might come out here and you might say, well, it looks like you've got plenty of everything. And there are some things that we are a little short on right now. Japanese maples is one of them. However, we've got a bunch coming in this coming week. So if you don't see what you're looking for in a Japanese maple, don't despair. We've got a bunch coming in this week.
Now, these dappled willows that are behind you, I don't know that I've ever seen them before, David. These are spectacular.
Yeah, and this is one of the items that if you should go to the Bates Nursery Facebook page and check out Austin's, I think it was the second product back. It's worth a grow.
It's the very first video we put out.
The very first one.
It was actually 1 week ago today.
So check that out. It's worth a grow with Austin. Oh yeah.
I got a pile of them. He does need some new walk-up music, though. I'm going to make that suggestion, though. I mean, that little Calliope band that's going on.
That's me.
Yeah, that's
what are you doing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Huh? What are you doing?
I'm making suggestions.
He's directing. That's what he does. He's the self-appointed star.
Delegator.
He's the star of the program.
Whose name out front? Man, come on.
I see that.
Whose name's out front?
The only way I can make Josh get better in that responsibility is provide him a challenge.
Everything,
at which point, you can just take your opinion and shove it.
Okay, it works for me. We actually have a question on the Facebook page, and it's going to go to the grass stuff.
Okay,
and we cover grass.
We'll see what Michael has to.
Christar Chabard is asking: is it okay to use 2,4-D on zoysia this week?
That
I wouldn't think so.
Well, now, I'm not, okay. If you have a strictly zoysia lawn and you haven't done any overseeding or anything, using 2,4-D on there will not at all be problematic. 2,4-D, for those of you who might not know, is a post-emergent herbicide. It is a selective post-emergent herbicide. So what that means is that it kills weeds that have already come up by making contact with the foliage. So what you're likely to see on zoysia right now, it's just starting to come out of dormancy. A lot of it is still brown. just like your Bermuda grass is another warm season grass. So if you apply that now, it won't hurt them. But understanding how you're applying 2,4-D goes a long way as far as how effective your application is going to be. If it's a granular type, and this can be confusing, if it's a granular type that you're putting on with a weed and feed type product, you need to make sure that you apply it at this time of day while there's moisture on the ground, so that product will stick to the foliage. However, if you're using a spray that you're spraying on with like a hose-in sprayer, that kind of thing, you want it to be dry when you apply it because you don't want the water to be present on the foliage. So it's confusing, and it's a fairly nuanced little detail, but it's critically important, because what will happen is if you fail to understand that, you will apply your weed and feed product and you won't be getting any weed out of it. You'll only be getting feed, and it's a very expensive fertilizer-only product.
And it might have been back in late February, early March, after the snowstorm, when we started to get a little bit warm on the zoysia lawn. You probably saw these little green patches.
Good old crabgrass.
Crabgrass or plantain, henbit, anything. At that point in time, while your zoysia is completely
that's not
dormant.
Now, so you be very careful.
Not now.
I know
during the dormant season.
I know what you're about to say.
Dare I say that word, David Bates?
I don't know that you should, Josh, because I don't think you're responsible enough to say the word.
Glyphosate.
Okay, you can say that.
I say glyphosate.
You can say glyphosate.
But only on the dormant grass.
Yeah,
or just dirt, you know.
Yeah. I would not recommend. Just forget what he said, because he's talking 2 or 3 months removed from where we are currently.
Oh yeah, for next year.
So you won't remember it next year. Just forget all that.
Well, last question before we
pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Before we get, I'll mute your mic, Josh. You'll
help him out.
Yeah, I'll help you out. We'll get you out of here. It's okay. Someone needs to know how to get rid of chipmunks. They're destroying the flower garden.
Cat.
Yeah, cat works well. A little humane trap. Yeah, they're easy to catch.
Your foot.
You can catch bunches and bunches and bunches of them.
Don't put the rat poison out. Don't do it.
No.
Not for them.
But the little have a heart traps, you can catch one every time you set it.
Take it to Grandma's house so you can have Mother's Day.
Oh, yeah.
All righty, folks. The music means that this edition of the At Home Show is coming to a close. But for everybody here for the team, we appreciate you joining us every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock.
Absolutely.
And it's a big time. Hey, reach out to us. Go out to Facebook. Like the Facebook page. Go out to YouTube. Subscribe. Do everything you can. Share it. Hit the bell. Do everything. And so you can see us here next Saturday morning.